Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio.
Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, time! 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Ayler's gone! Goodbye, touchdown, Indy! Woo! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Oh. Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday. Happy Festivus. That's right, Gritty. Thank you very much. It is Festivus. Festivus for the rest of us. Got a lot of problems with you people. Just kidding. One of the greats, one of the all-time greats. Yeah, that was fun. But it is Festivus, man. It's a Christmas week, Christmas time. This is the day before Christmas Eve. Airing of grievances and much more. Don Fischer joins us next here in the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Yep. Indiana football quarterback Taven Jackson has entered the transfer portal per reports. Not really a big surprise there. I think that the writing is on the wall, and a lot of you are going to go, I can't believe that. I'm surprised. I just don't think that he is seen as a starting quarterback and by Cignetti. Now, I'm just kind of guessing and to that, but the fact that they are definitely hitting the portal to pull somebody else in. There's Don joining us now. Hey, Mr. Fischer, how are you, sir?
Good job. How are you?
Good. I was just chatting about Taven Jackson hitting the portal, but not a big surprise. But before we get to that, of course, last Friday night, Indiana and Notre Dame opened up the college football playoffs. A great environment, just a tremendous night. Did not go the way Indiana had hoped that it went, Don. It was not like the Ohio State game, but it was obvious that I think Notre Dame just had a better scheme. And I don't know that it was they were better. I think that they had a better scheme. Al Golden, you have to remember, he's a hell of a coach. This is a guy that was a head coach, and he did a great job putting together a game plan against Indiana.
Well, I look at it this way. In both games that Indiana lost this year, they struggled in the offensive line to protect quarterback Curtis Rourke. Curtis, was not himself in this ball game, primarily because of the pressure that was put on by Notre Dame's defense throughout much of the contest. And there's no question. In my mind, Indiana deserved to be in the playoff. The pundits that are out there talking about how Indiana probably didn't deserve it and all those kinds of things are just full of crap. I'm sorry.
I agree.
They deserved everything. They can only play the schedule that's given to them.
And look who they lost to. There are only
correct.
2 losses. We're
Exactly.
2 of the top teams in the country.
Exactly. So, and they beat the national champions from a year ago, and they beat the team that was in the national championship game with them. So look, and I think that's all I can tell you is this: what we saw this year from Indiana University football is without question a historic season with 11 wins. It's never been done before at IU under any coach. This guy was able to get the stands full, 4 straight sellout ball games at the end of the season after coming in here with virtually no notoriety in the sense of what he was capable of doing. And just like he's done every place else he's been, he's won. And granted, he has said that, Google me, I win. And all the things that he said, and everybody's looking at the guy like, this guy's just cocky, he thinks he's, and now they're all saying the same stuff that you would say if you didn't like what you saw from somebody that was out there and being a little verbose with his comments and brash and showing a little bravado. I don't care. I can tell you that Indiana needed this shot in the arm years ago. They just haven't. They had 3 winning seasons coming into this year since 1994. Think about it. So whatever he did, it was the best thing that's happened to this school in a long, long time. And Curt Cignetti and this Indiana football program have put Indiana football back on the map. And that's the way it should be.
Absolutely. And they can now move forward with that, which is what they will do, especially with recruiting and using this past season to bolster what they need to build up. But also, the only 2 major injuries Indiana suffered this year were to the offensive line. And there's no doubt that played a part.
Well, the offensive line at the end of the season was just not as stout as they needed to be. And that's a big factor in why they did lose these 2 ball games. Do I put it all on the offensive line? No. There's no question. Look, this is Indiana football this year had 29 people out of the transfer portal that Curt Cignetti brought in. Almost every one of those players played a role in this team's success this season. So all I can tell you is the guy knows what he's doing. His organization is phenomenal. What I watched in practices this year was incredible, how good he is at getting these kids to buy into what they're trying to do. And his coaching staff is tremendous. And yes, he lost Tino Santeri to UCLA as the new offensive coordinator at UCLA. He lost only one of his coaches. That tells you that these guys all believe in what Curt Cignetti and how he goes about his business. I'm talking about the assistant coaches now. He loses one of those guys. So look, it's an ongoing project in college football today. Every year you've got to go to the transfer portal. Virtually anybody that's going to be any good has got to go to the portal, and they got to try to find players that fit what they're trying to do. And Curt Cignetti's doing exactly that right now. They have had a lot of players on campus this past weekend, and he's going to get his share of them. There's no question in my mind. Now, do they need some spots filled? No question. Curtis Rourke's gone. Taven Jackson's in the portal. Does Taven Jackson want to come back to Indiana? He might. We'll see. But anybody that goes in the portal doesn't mean that they're going to leave that school at that particular time. They're trying to find out what their worth is, or they're trying to figure out if they got a chance to go someplace else and make a lot more money. That's what it's all about these days, right? So, look, from my perspective, just let this thing play out. They've already got a bunch of guys that have committed to Indiana at this point. I haven't had a chance to research any of them at this juncture. For the most part, I've seen their names. That's about it. But we'll find out how good this team is when they get to spring practice this coming year, and we'll see what it looks like. And at that point, you can make some judgments if you would like at that juncture. But there's no doubt in my mind, this is the best football coach we've had at Indiana since Bill Mallory, and maybe the best ever. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I think that next season looks to be a good season again. I see 10 wins for Indiana possibly next year. We'll see. I'll say that for the fall. But, when I look at these early games, while Indiana was beaten, they lost by 10. So I look at the Tennessee-Ohio State game. That's a much more thorough beatdown. But yet Indiana is receiving more flack than any of these teams. And I don't understand it, because Penn State beat SMU probably worse than Indiana lost. And it's like Indiana just become the punching bag for some reason.
Well, that's because of the history of the school in football. And
the brashness of Curt Cignetti probably has added to that.
Exactly. And there's no question. So a lot of people are just, they're now going to take their shots, and that's fine. I don't care. You know what? Indiana's in the conversation, and they have been in the conversation for years.
That's a fact. That is a fact. And they should remain there. Looking forward to that as the coaches will return next year, and they will go to work in the portal right now and rebuild. And if you think that they can rebuild off of 0 season off of a 3-9 team, what do you think is going to be able to be done off of an 11-2 team?
Right. Exactly right. I mean, players from all over the country are now looking at Indiana University football as a possible destination. It's that simple.
Without question. On the basketball court, Don, the Hoosiers get another win over the weekend, but also not as thoroughly as you would like to see, because this is kind of where they were last season, and the metrics start to catch up with them. Beating teams are supposed to beat, but not really handling them the way they should handle them, and it will come back to haunt them. And this year could be worse, because this Big Ten is much deeper, and so they're going to have a lot more battles on their hands.
Well, it's much deeper simply because you added 4 new teams to it.
Right.
So
2 of which are really good.
Yeah. So it's going to be a challenge if this team doesn't start playing up to their potential or capabilities that we anticipated that they would have. And look, to beat Tennessee Chattanooga by 9 points in this ball game, that's probably. I mean, I think Tennessee Chattanooga is a really well put together team, and I think Dan Earl has done a really good job with that program. But Indiana is certainly capable of beating them more significantly than they did on Saturday, especially when you got your head coach and Mike Woodson after the ball game not very happy at all with his starters in that contest. You had 2 players in double figures, 14 points each for Renew and for Mbako, and nobody else in double figures, but they had a lot of other guys that contributed off the bench that did a pretty good job. But he was not pleased with the starters, and the reason he wasn't is because they just didn't put the same energy and effort out there that you saw out of Tennessee Chattanooga. I don't understand that, other than the fact that they are a bunch of new players put together here, trying to figure it out. But by this time, you would have thought that they would have figured something out at this juncture, especially from an energy and effort level. And I continue to look at a ball club that does not give the same effort as I see from other teams around the country, i.e. the Auburn ball club against Purdue on Saturday. I did watch that ball game. I got home and there wasn't much else to do because I was so tired after our ball game and the game the night before, because I didn't get much sleep. But I sat there and watched that game and looked at how hard Auburn played. And the reason they're a number 2 team in the country and should probably be number 1 is because of how hard they play. And they are great players. No question. They're really good players. But are they better than a lot of other people's players? I don't know that they are. I just think they just play harder than everybody else. And Purdue found that out on Saturday. And I'm sure Matt Painter is talking to his basketball team about that's how hard you have to play.
Absolutely.
And we're not seeing it from Indiana. That's my whole point.
No, and that's not the first time that conversation has been had, and it makes you wonder what's going on. And then when we hear all the new player talk and this and that, and not to compare it to football, but boy, it doesn't compare to football when you talk about the amount of numbers that were brought in, but they were able to come together. So you wonder, why can't a small group of guys get together quicker than they are? I don't have the answer to that question, but I do know it's going to happen fast. I have doubts, Don, that this team will make the NCAA tournament. Not can, but that they will, because of some of the things that you just talked about.
Well, and let's face it, does this team have enough talent to be good? I think they do.
Yes.
I think they've got plenty of talent. I mean, I see a lot of things, you don't see it consistently, but you see a lot of things that look really good at times. And then you see a team that just doesn't seem to have that understanding of how hard or the effort level you have to give to play at a top-notch level. And, you know, that this coaching staff has a lot of work to do to get these guys to figure this out. And there's no question that Woodson was really unhappy after the ball game about what he saw from his team. Sent them home for their 3 days, and then they're going to come back here, and hopefully it turns around here in the next week or so to get ready for Winthrop, and then the Big Ten schedule, which is going to be brutal if Indiana doesn't play up their capability.
Yeah, this is the time that you'd like to go into this break feeling good, on kind of a roll, and on kind of, with some momentum behind you, and that's not really the case. They're at a weird point that they've kind of all got to get their heads together as one soon, because it's going to get real fast for this team.
There's no question. I mean, and Rutgers is going to be the first Big Ten test.
And boy, is it a test.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they're a much improved team over a year ago. They've got some tremendous young talent. And Steve Feichel is one of those guys that does as good a job, in my opinion, from a coaching perspective, to get his guys to play hard, to play as a team. They figure it out very quickly. Granted, they're not superstar status yet, but they've got enough talent on their ball club, young talent, that they will become really good before this season comes to a close.
No question about that. And Peichel has done a tremendous job, like you said, but every time Indiana seems to play Rutgers plays tough. Rutgers plays with that kind of style that you just talked about, playing hard. They do, and they have some great young talent in Ace Bailey and oh my gosh, what's
Harper.
The guys? Yeah, Ron Harper Jr. Ace Bailey's tremendous. It looks like he's a third-year guy. They are both very, very talented, and Rutgers is a team that is for real.
There's no question about that. And they've had Indiana's number now. I'm looking it up as we speak. I'm looking it up as we speak. Let's see here. Now I go back to 2020. Okay, we'll just go back that far. Since 2020, you know how many times Indiana has beaten Rutgers?
Once.
That's correct. You know how many times they've gotten beat by Rutgers?
4 times.
7.
7. Oh, I was trying to be kind.
Yeah, maybe I'll make sure I've got the correct number there, but.
Well, that sounds right. That's 8 games.
That's right. So Indiana is 1-7 against Rutgers since 2020.
1-7 against Rutgers, 0-4 against Nebraska in their last 4 contests. Those are not teams that Indiana is accustomed to being 1 for 11.
Well, they're 2-9. If you want to go back a little farther, out of their last 9 games played against Rutgers, Indiana's won twice. And the last time they won was 2023, 66-60 in Bloomington. I'm just telling you right now, it's going to be a test. And this team has got 1 non-conference game left against Winthrop, who's had a good program over the years, especially in the recent years. I don't know how good they are this year. I haven't even begun to research Winthrop, but I can tell you this. They will play hard. They're going to play tough, and we better be able to match it.
They'll be looking for the opportunity. Don, happy Festivus.
Factivus. You mean
Festivus? Happy Festivus.
Well, Merry Christmas to everybody. And obviously, next week we're going to take off. We will not do a show next Monday because we always take off 1 day of the holiday weekend during Christmas and the New Year's. So next Monday we will not talk, but we will be back with you in 2 weeks.
Sounds great. Please tell Miss Susie happy Christmas, happy holidays, everything, all the happy New Year, everything.
Yep. You guys have a good time. See ya.
You as well. There's Don Fischer joining us on the program. Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio.